The judge in Donald Trump's hush money trial, Judge Juan Merchan, recently shouted at Donald Trump's lawyer and even questioned his credibility. Now, you have to remember that we are in the early stages of Donald Trump's trial, and many analysts are saying that Merchan is laying out the cards. He's showing which side he's on very early on. Some say that it's biased, while others are saying that Donald Trump's team is just simply ill-prepared. However, there are those who believe that instead of the prosecutors pushing to find Donald Trump guilty, it looks as if the defense team has to instead find him innocent. The idea is very much different from the norm that we're used to. So now critics are also pushing the judge to fine Donald Trump for his social media posts on Truth Social. So far, they've counted 10 posts that they say violate the gag order from Merchan. The maximum amount that Donald Trump can be fined per post is $1,000. Now, obviously, $1,000 for Donald Trump really isn't squat, but rumors are now swirling that Merchan is deciding whether to fine Donald Trump or to put him in jail. The latter option is not being pushed by the prosecution because they know that this would further give Donald Trump an edge in the 2024 presidential elections. But what happened between Judge Merchan and Trump's lawyer, attorney Todd Blanche? Take a listen.
You saw the day begin with what seemed like fireworks between the judge and Donald Trump's lawyer over this argument of the prosecution saying Trump's violated the gag order already. What happened?
That's right. So Trump is not supposed to be talking about any of the witnesses in the case or pretty much anyone involved in the case other than Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and the judge, Juan Merchan. And prosecutors laid out a series of 10 examples where they say primarily on Trump's social media site that he violated that gag order, whether talking about two star witnesses, Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, or one post that seemed to reference jurors or potential jurors. And they said they want the judge to hold Trump in contempt. They stopped short, though, of saying incarcerate him. They said we're not seeking jail time for this contempt, but a warning that in the future that could be a possibility. And Trump's attorney, Todd Blanche, tried to defend these posts that talked about the two witnesses, that talked about potential jurors, saying that Trump was responding to political attacks. And the judge repeatedly said, give me recent examples when either Michael Cohen or Stormy Daniels attacked Trump's politics. And Blanche repeatedly kind of shied away from that. He didn't actually give a specific example. He made a reference to something involving a document from 6 years ago. And the judge said, I want the most recent example. And at one point, Blanche asked the judge back a question saying, I don't know why we're talking about recent only. And the judge, you could hear his voice rising, said, I'm the one asking the questions here, not you. And it was really an intense moment. So the arguments ended there. We haven't yet got a ruling on that. There was a short break, and even during that break, Trump went on his social media site and made another post about the judge who is currently mulling this contempt request.
So the judge has yet to make a decision on what the punishment may be.
So Donald Trump, being Trump, posted about the entire ordeal on Truth Social, and he did not mince words. So according to the former president Donald Trump, the judge in his hush money trial case has already taken away his constitutional right to free speech. He said that everyone is allowed to talk and lie about him, but Judge Juan Merchan, he's not allowing him to defend himself. He then went on to call the proceedings as a kangaroo court. He said that Merchan should recuse himself from the case. But as you guys are aware, the judge has a very clear connection to the current administration along with top Democrats. His wife is said to have worked with New York Attorney General Letitia James, and his daughter was discovered to have made millions of dollars through their firm by working with the likes of Representatives Adam Schiff, Vice President Kamala Harris, and even President Joe Biden himself.
If you watch the corporate media, you'd think that President Trump is attacking the poor innocent daughter of a judge, but actually the info about the judge's daughter has been public knowledge for quite some time.
It is, and it's not an attack on the daughter. It's an attack on a potential conflict of interest. This is a adult child of a judge who is directly involved in Kamala Harris's campaign in 2020 and has been involved in activist Democratic politics designed to defeat Donald Trump ever since. And so the family connections of a judge are usually fair game when it comes to conflicts of interest questions. Most people would point out these conflicts of interest in the news media until recently. And the Trump era, all of a sudden, the news media doesn't look at conflicts of interest. They didn't want to look at Hunter Biden's conflicts of interest. They don't want to look at the judge's conflicts of interest. But I think it's a legitimate game. Obviously, late last night, the judge extended his gag order to his daughter, so that is going to keep the president from raising those questions anymore. But those of us who actually know the facts can get them to the American people and let the American people know this isn't an ad hominem attack. This is a a question of her professional duties and the fact that the daughter of a sitting judge in a criminal case has a direct interest in the defeat of Donald Trump.
Now, Judge Merchan, as you guys just heard, was very strict with Donald Trump's attorney, Todd Blanche. He even said that Blanche was losing all of his credibility with the court. And this is just a day after opening statements in the case. The experts say that this is not uncommon in court. Judges draw the line when they feel as if either the prosecution or the defense, they're going beyond what they're allowed to do or say. But it's extremely rare to hear the term credibility and it being lost within the courtroom, because that in and of itself would probably convince people within the vicinity. And in this case, it could show a jury that the judge is saying that the defense has nothing to stand on. Which now brings me to an opinion piece on New York Times that makes a lot of sense. So this comes from Boston University law professor Jed Handelsman Shugerman. So Mr. Shugerman says that the DA Alvin Bragg bringing this case against Donald Trump will be seen as a historic mistake. He says that the opening statement of the prosecutors in this case has proved that their allegation about a criminal scheme to corrupt the 2016 presidential election is vague. The concern is that their use of state law and their avoidance of specifying an election crime or a valid theory of fraud. So he goes on to say that DA Alvin Bragg's attempt to charge Donald Trump with a federal election crime has gone way too far. So Alvin Bragg's accusation also lacks clarity, and his team has not clarified what crime Donald Trump is being charged for. Now remember, this is a misdemeanor before Alvin Bragg upgraded it to a felony. Mr. Shugerman also cited 3 big red flags that the prosecution would face if Donald Trump appealed a possible ruling. So first, of course, there's no previous cases of any state prosecutor leaning on the Federal Election Campaign Act either as a direct crime or as a predicament crime. So this shows a sign of overreach from Bragg's office. Second, Donald Trump's lawyers say that the New York statute requires that the underlying crime must also be a New York crime, not a crime in another jurisdiction. More overreach. So DA Bragg was unable to cite a single judicial interpretation of this particular statute supporting their use of the statute. And lastly, it says here that no New York president has been allowed an interpretation of defrauding the general public. Legal experts have noted that such a broad election interference theory is unprecedented, and a conviction based on it would not survive a state appeal. So yes, this is not looking too good for Alvin Bragg, but we called this early on, guys. We knew that this was a bogus case. Now, there's also the timing of the cases being brought against Donald Trump. The alleged crime or the cover-up happened 8 years ago, which leads experts to question if this is more about Manhattan politics than it is New York law. This is why many legal experts are piling on and pretty much saying that even if Donald Trump is convicted, there's a high probability that he will win in the appellate courts. That is, if the prosecution even gets that far, something that analysts believe won't even happen. But what do you guys think of all this? Is this merely election interference, or is Donald Trump really guilty of trying to defraud the American people? Now, as always, I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Thanks so much for hitting the like button. Thank you for always sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter, and I'll see you on the next one.